Welcome back, everyone. Today's deep dive is a little different.
Ooh,
Yeah, we're not digging into research papers or anything like that. Instead, we're going to be looking at a dedication booklet.
a booklet.
Exactly. For the newly renovated Emanuel Evangelical Lutheran Church. It's in New London, Wisconsin,
Okay.
and they're part of the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod.
Interesting.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this is
What's that?
it's like a time capsule.
That's who you mean.
We're going to see how a congregation's history and their beliefs and their vision for the future are all woven into their renovated space.
So it's more than just a building project.
Right. It's like their story is built into the architecture itself.
That's a great way to put it.
So this renovation project actually began back in 2017.
Oh, wow. So it's been a while.
It has. It all started during the church's 125th anniversary celebration, which is just amazing to think about, 125 years.
I know. They even had a theme for the anniversary and everything.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was We Rejoice with Thanksgiving, and they set this ambitious fundraising goal of $125,000.
I love how they tied that into their anniversary.
Me too. It
Yeah.
really shows how important their history is to them.
Absolutely. And setting that specific fundraising goal, it really emphasizes that this was a special project for them.
Exactly. And another thing that stood out to me was how involved the congregation was from the very beginning.
Oh, how so?
Well, the booklet mentions consultations, workshops, even focus groups.
Wow, so it wasn't just a top-down decision.
Not at all. It was a true community effort.
That's fantastic. That kind of buy-in is so important for a project like this.
It really is. Of course, there were some bumps in the road.
I can imagine. Like what?
Well, they had to deal with the pandemic and supply chain issues.
Of course.
It definitely pushed their timeline back.
It makes their dedication even more impressive, though, doesn't it?
It really does.
So now that we've talked about the background, let's dive into the details of the renovation itself.
Absolutely. The booklet really highlights how the physical changes they made reflect these deeper spiritual and community values.
That sounds fascinating. Where do we start?
Well, let's start with the heart of the church, the sanctuary.
Okay.
They describe the altar as having a stone top.
Stone?
Yeah, which they say symbolizes permanence.
It makes sense. Stone lasts forever.
Exactly. And it also features these beautiful wood inlays that mirror the stained glass roses in the windows.
Oh, wow. So they've really tied the design elements together.
It's really well thought out.
It sounds gorgeous.
It does. And then behind the altar, there's this amazing triptych.
A trip pitch?
Yeah, it's a 3-panel artwork,
Okay.
and it has these interchangeable paintings depicting scenes from Christ's life.
Interchangeable paintings.
Yeah, so they change them throughout the liturgical year.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I know, right? It's like the artwork itself is participating in the church calendar.
It's like a visual sermon.
Exactly. And they also made another interesting change in the sanctuary. They moved the altar and pulpit closer to the congregation.
Oh, really? I wonder why they did that.
They said it was to create a more welcoming and interactive atmosphere.
I see. So it's less about formality and more about connection.
Exactly. It's a more modern approach to worship.
Makes sense.
And then they also have these things called paraments.
Teraments. What are those?
They're these decorative cloths that are used on the altar and the pulpit, and their colors change throughout the year, too.
Really? What's the purpose of that?
It's another layer of symbolism. For example, during Advent, the color is purple, which represents preparation and anticipation. And then during Christmas, it changes to white or gold for joy and purity.
Wow, it sounds like every detail in the sanctuary has a deeper meaning.
It really does. But the renovation wasn't just about the sanctuary.
Oh, what else did they do?
Well, they also made some really practical changes.
Like what?
They added a parents' room, an usher's room, and even a universal changing table.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like they were really thinking about everyone's needs.
They were. It shows how committed they are to hospitality and accessibility.
It's not just about the grandeur of the sanctuary, but also the everyday needs of the people who use the space.
Exactly. And speaking of grand things, they also invested in a brand new pipe organ.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's a Parsons Pipe Organ Builders, Opus 57.
Parsons. Wow, that's a serious commitment to their musical tradition.
It is. And it shows how much they value music in their worship.
Parsons is known for making exceptional instruments. I bet it sounds incredible in that space.
I'm sure it does. They really went all out with the music, huh?
Yeah, They really did. And they even improved the acoustics in the sanctuary.
Oh, that's smart. So the new organ will sound even better.
Exactly. And get this, they also created these designated spaces for the musicians.
Designated spaces? What do you mean?
Well, like a balcony plaza for instrumental ensembles.
Oh, cool. So they have their own dedicated spot.
Yeah. And they have an upper plaza for handbells, too.
Wow, they really thought of everything.
It's like they orchestrated the entire space to enhance the musical experience.
Yeah, I know. And they didn't just stop at traditional music either.
Wow.
Yeah. They also incorporated some modern technology.
Really? Like what?
Well, they have those big, high-definition televisions
TVs in the sanctuary?
for overflow seating and for closed-circuit broadcasts.
Oh, that makes sense.
And they also have these new audiovisual systems and assistive listening devices.
Wow, that's great. They're really making worship accessible to everyone.
They are. It's a really nice blend of tradition and modernity.
Absolutely. It shows they're honoring their history,
Yeah.
but also embracing the future.
Exactly. And speaking of honoring their history,
Yes,
they also make sure to preserve some of their historical artifacts.
that's great to hear.
Yeah, they moved the original altar and baptismal font to a historical gallery.
Oh, wow, that's a really nice touch.
And they included a photographic timeline, too, and records of their confirmation classes.
It's like a little museum right in the church.
It is. It's a beautiful way to connect the past, present, and future.
I love how they've integrated it all together.
Me too. It's not just tucked away in some basement archive.
Right. It's woven into the fabric of the building.
And they did something else really interesting with space, too.
What's that?
They transformed their former church offices
Into what?
into a ministry hub.
A ministry hub.
Yeah, it's a modern space dedicated to youth and family education.
Oh, wow, that's a really creative use of space.
It is. It shows they're not just focused on preserving the past, but also on nurturing the future generations.
What kind of activities will happen in this ministry hub?
Well, the booklet doesn't get too specific, but I imagine they'll have Sunday school classes, youth group meetings, things like that.
Sounds like a great space for young people to connect and grow in their faith.
Yeah, and they also have this beautifully renovated dining hall with a brand new kitchen, too.
It sounds like the perfect space for those potluck dinners and fellowship events.
It does. You know, as I'm reading through this booklet,
Yeah.
I'm really struck by how much teamwork and collaboration went into this whole project.
Me too. It seems like it was a true community effort.
It was. The booklet mentions all these different committees.
Committees.
Yeah, like the executive committee and all these different support committees, and of course, all the volunteers who donated their time and talents.
It really underscores the power of a shared vision.
Yeah. And at the end of the booklet, they have this beautiful concluding statement.
What does it say?
It says, "Our heartfelt thanks for all the members of Emanuel who supported this project through their gifts, prayers, and volunteerism."
Oh, that's nice.
It's a beautiful testament to the spirit of this congregation.
It really is.
They didn't just renovate a building, they strengthened their bonds as a community.
Absolutely. It's inspiring to see how they've woven their history, their beliefs, and their aspirations into every aspect of this renovation.
So, having explored all these fascinating details, what stands out to you the most about this whole project?
Well, for me, I think it's the intentionality behind every decision. You know, they didn't just make changes for the sake of making changes. They really considered how each element would reflect their values and how it would enhance their worship and how it would serve their community.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
That's a real testament to their thoughtful approach.
I completely agree. It's clear they put a lot of thought and care into every detail.
They really did. And it's not just about the physical space itself either.
It's about what it represents.
Exactly. It's about their connection to the past, their commitment to the future, and most importantly, that deep sense of community.
This deep dive into Emanuel Lutheran Church's renovation has been really fascinating.
It has.
It's a powerful reminder that spaces can be so much more than just place and mortar.
That's a great way to put it.
So as we wrap up this exploration,
Yes.
what's one final thought you'd like to leave our listener with?
I would ask them to imagine themselves walking into this newly renovated space. What's the first thing they notice? What questions do they have about the history, the symbolism, the people who made it all happen?
It's like you're inviting them to really step inside the story.
Exactly, to connect with the heart and soul of this congregation.
Yeah, and to see firsthand how much thought and care went into every decision.
And it's not just about admiring the building, you know, it's about reflecting on how our own spaces, physical or metaphorical, reflect our own values and aspirations.
It's amazing how this deep dive has taken us on such a journey. I mean, we haven't even left our chairs.
Right, and we've learned so much.
We've gone through the history, the symbolism, all those practical details, the challenges, the triumphs.
It's really been quite the exploration.
It has, and it shows how a simple dedication booklet can be so much more than just a record of a building project.
Exactly. It's like a window into the life of a community.
Yeah, a testament to their faith and an invitation for us to think about how our own spaces reflect who we are.
I love that.
We've talked about grand things like the altar and the pipe organ, but also the smaller touches like the universal changing table.
Oh, yeah, and moving those historical artifacts.
It's amazing how every detail tells a story.
It really does. And it reveals so much about this congregation.
I think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
Me too. It makes you really appreciate the power of place.
So as we wrap up this exploration of Emanuel Lutheran Church,
Yeah.
what's one last thought you want to leave our listener with?
I'd like them to think about a space that holds special meaning for them. It could be a place of worship, a childhood home, a favorite park, even a corner in their living room.
Okay.
What makes that space so meaningful to them? What stories does it hold? How does it reflect their own values and aspirations?
That's a beautiful way to end this deep dive.
Thanks.
It's a reminder that our surroundings really do shape our lives. Thank you for joining us on this architectural adventure. We hope it sparked your curiosity and inspired you to look at the world a little differently. Until next time, keep diving deep.